Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the Millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. Guys, it truly makes it all worthwhile. I read all your comments and respond to all your questions. Continue to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z, X-E-N. SAMS. And also remember that all episodes of A Moment of Zen stream 24/7 on your home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide platform. It's free programming to you. And of course, you could always find us on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. We have a great show lined up for you tonight. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're in for a special conversation with a remarkable mother-son duo, Pilar Scratch. She's a celebrity stylist, a media personality, and an author who has made an incredible impact in the fashion industry. Joining her is her son, River Mason, a young actor recognized globally for his immense talent, including his induction into the Global Child Prodigy Association. Can't wait to chat with them. We're going to discuss their journeys in fashion and entertainment, their close family bond, and the importance of mental health awareness. In our Going Deep segment, in our Expert on the Microphone series, we're joined by founder and CEO of CO2Lift, Lana Kerr, and today we're featuring Reggie Gatewood. He's a former pharma-executive and co-founder of Corganics. It's a company with the mission to become the most trusted and recommended cannabinoid company by healthcare professionals. They're going to join me to break down how CO2Lift and Corganics are easing patient comfort and well-being and changing the post-procedure healing routine. In the Millennial Mom feature, we have a topic today that truly resonates with parents everywhere. Joining us is Sarah Allen Benton. She's a licensed mental health counselor and advanced alcohol and drug counselor, and she's here to discuss her new book, Parents in Recovery, Navigating a Sober Family Lifestyle. In the Phoenix Rising Express segment, sponsored by Gigi and Pop, contributor Anna DeVere covers the latest in the New York City art scene and how Gigi and Pop Institute is using art and design to cultivate innovative thinking. Stay tuned for Sarah Allen Benton, licensed mental health counselor and advanced alcohol and drug counselor, here to discuss her new book, Parents in Recovery. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
In business and in life, there's always an upside. Finding it is often the challenge. Having a mindset that looks for it and embraces problems as opportunities is the key to thriving. Finding the Upside with Maria de Lorenzo Reyes explores the transformative power of optimism, featuring visionary business owners, influential leaders, and inspiring everyday people. Tune in and see how they navigate changing conditions with optimism and innovation. Watch the special series, One Tough Chick, highlighting resilient and powerful women, streaming on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. Welcome back to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. This is the Millennial Mom segment, and we have a topic today that truly resonates with parents everywhere. Joining us is Sarah Allen Benton. She's a licensed mental health counselor and advanced alcohol and drug counselor, and she's going to be here to discuss her new book, Parents in Recovery, Navigating a Sober Family Lifestyle. She's been a parent in recovery herself for over 12 years, and her work touches a growing community of parents looking for hope and structure in the often overwhelming landscape of recovery. Studies show that over 20 million Americans are currently living in recovery from substance use disorders, and many are parents who face the dual challenge of staying sober while raising children in a world filled with temptations and pressures. Her new book is a lifeline, offering tools to cultivate a healthy family environment while embracing a sober lifestyle. Let's dive in and explore what she has to share. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Sarah Allen Benton. Welcome, superstar.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with you.
So, your book, Parents in Recovery, offers such a unique perspective in the crowded world of recovery literature. I thank you so much for joining me today because this is such an important topic that I'm really eager to explore and share from an expert's perspective. So, a recent report from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration states that only 10% of people with substance use disorders receive specialized treatment. That's a pretty low statistic. Now, your book offers support for those navigating this journey, many of whom feel alone and under-resourced. So it's powerful, Sarah. In a space where parents are often expected to put themselves last, you're advocating for a structured, supported approach that doesn't just treat addiction, but considers the whole family. It's refreshing and a much needed shift. So, can you talk to me a little bit about what motivated you to write this book?
Sure. I think you spoke to this is a crowded field of quit lit, but there was a missing piece for parents in recovery that was a nonfiction book with like a field guide, not just a memoir telling and depicting one person's story. I felt a calling to write this, and the voices of all of the parents in recovery in my book represent over 400 years of recovery. And I wanted to short circuit the process for people.
Wow. And studies show that children of parents in recovery are at a lower risk of developing substance use disorders themselves when parents are open about their journeys. So, your book emphasizes the importance of transparency about addiction with children. Why do you believe, particularly in this approach, and how can parents start having these sometimes difficult conversations? Is there ever an age where it's too early to discuss these topics?
Well, this book really is promoting a lifestyle, right? A lifestyle of wellness and of recovery that gets transferred to your children. It's part of your family system. And so it's not just about speaking about the addiction component, but also teaching your children in advance coping skills, the things that we were missing that maybe led us down the wrong path as before we became parents or after we became parents. There are people I interviewed that had both scenarios. And in terms of the disclosure, I really think parents reflected that they had differing views on when they felt comfortable talking to their children about their own history. I think a lot of parents will let their children know, I don't use substances or drink, and they notice it, right? Because let's be honest, it's part of the mommy culture, it's part of our society, it's part of work culture. To have alcohol in the home and even at children's birthdays, parties. I mean, it's kind of everywhere. So you do stand out a little bit when you are in recovery, and your children notice that, but it's not always a bad thing. As far as the age of comfort to tell people, I really leave that up to a parent. However, I would, as a therapist, suggest that before your child is exposed to substances and alcohol in their own environment, through their school, through the community, that you have an honest conversation about the genetic components, as we would for diabetes, for cancer, for other conditions, to help set them up for success in this world. That substances are there. You can't hide in a hole somewhere. But also letting them know there's hope. That if you delay the onset of drinking to the age of 15, you can actually decrease the chance by 40% of developing an alcohol use disorder specifically. And that is
Wow.
huge news, regardless of your family history. So that means each year after that, you're decreasing the chance by 7% of having this condition. So the point is educating, arming our children with information that, we're not saying never ever drink or use a substance ever, because it's somewhat unrealistic, maybe, but why don't you set yourself up for chances of maybe having a healthy relationship to alcohol in the future?
Wow. You are so spot on. And you're breaking down a wall that many parents in recovery feel they have to build to protect their children. I mean, it's refreshing to see transparency reframed as a powerful positive tool, and this might just be a game changer for so many families. Now, you share personal journal entries in Parents in Recovery, a choice that really humanizes the journey. What prompted you to share these, so to speak, private reflections, and how do they really help bridge the gap between theory and real life experience for readers?
Well, I actually started this new tradition in my books with my first book. I put my own journal entries into understanding the high functioning alcoholic. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I actually had journaled at significant points. And I I know in the self-help community, narratives are very healing and part of our tradition, and they're part of what people connect with. And to your point, they are the human part of all of this. So while I want to arm people with research and statistics and other women's and men's stories, I wanted to humanize myself because I come to this topic both as an addiction specialist, but also as a person in long-term recovery.
Your willingness to be vulnerable is truly inspiring. I mean, it's truly a reminder that recovery is ongoing and complex. So for readers, it must feel like they're right there with you, not alone in their struggles. And I love that you framed the book like that. And your book touches on social media's influence in our lives, a topic that really resonates widely today. The Journal of Youth Studies found that excessive social media use does in fact contribute to feelings of inadequacy and isolation, especially among young users. So, for parents in recovery, I imagine this pressure is compounded. What advice do you offer to help parents set boundaries and navigate the digital landscape in a way that really supports sobriety?
Those that have addictive issues are sometimes more prone to and vulnerable to the quick dopamine hits that were designed within social media. As parents in recovery, I think we have a heightened awareness of preventative measures. And when we see habits forming with ourselves or our children, we try to maintain some level of emotional sobriety and balance. And that's something we want to instill to our children. I think we also know that our children are at higher risk in some ways for addictive behaviors. And I do know that electronics are on top of mind because they actually enter our children's lives possibly before substances do. And they have a dopamine priming effect, which can then for certain children that are more prone to impulsive behaviors, that are more prone to attention and focus issues, can affect their school, their academics, their connections. Those with social anxiety get stuck behind a screen instead of in front of people. However, it's not all bad. Post pandemic, there are social support groups, access to resources that are virtual that were never there before. So, as parents in recovery, we have more access to meetings that are easier to get to without childcare, and to a greater variety of self help meetings. So, I see that there's a blessing, but also pieces that you just need to be more mindful of.
Now, one of the unique aspects of your book is how you categorize parenting styles in the context of recovery, right? So, quote unquote, intrinsic, extrinsic, and hybrid. So, according to a study published in the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs, certain parenting styles are more effective in fostering resilience in children. Can you break down these categories for us and explain why these distinctions are so significant?
In my own personal case, I was not a natural parent. Parenting didn't come now. My nurturing nature didn't just happen the minute I gave birth to my daughter. And then I saw other parents where it just seemed to be what they were born to do. And I believe that all of that impacts our recovery and also our need to and our ease at which we live in our lives and in the different domains of all areas of our life. So what I was trying to figure out is there a correlation between if parents have ease at which they are parenting versus those that are just feeling like this isn't really my thing? And does that impact or decrease substance usage? I think that there were certainly some parents that parenting increased, and there are some that I interviewed that had relapses while they were parenting, started off sober. Parenting was really the extra layer that kind of threw them over the edge, and they let go of their own self-care and didn't prioritize themselves. I think that there were other parents, this was really interesting to me, that had a trauma history, and that when they became parents, they became instinctually protective of their children, and also additionally cemented in their recovery and their mission to create a different life for their children than they had had. And that really surprised me in some ways because I actually, because of my own experience, expected a lot of parents to feel a lot more vulnerability as a parent in their recovery, but many felt more convicted.
Wow. Wow, that's very deep. It's fascinating. Understanding that recovery can shape parenting choices not only enriches the parent child relationship, but as you say, it reinforces resilience. And this isn't just recovery, it's transformative parenting. Research from the National Institute on Drug Abuse shows that support systems greatly improve recovery outcomes. So you advocate for building a robust support network both within the family and the larger community. Why is community so vital in recovery, Sarah? And what first steps do you recommend for parents looking to cultivate this kind of support?
Well, addiction is disconnection from yourself. Oftentimes it progresses to a point of isolation. I think many parents that were using substances maybe crossed a line where they started off social and partying and fun and ended up alone, or they were at events and just took things to a level where they were in their own world and felt alone and shame and guilt. So the antithesis of that for recovery is connection and social support. The other piece of it is that honestly, alcohol is part of our societal structure. And so when you remove yourself from that world or you make different choices around that, it's important to have another community or subculture in some sense that is supporting your lifestyle change because you're going against the grain. Parents are obligated, I believe, to have long term recovery in finding other social supports. The first step in this really is to find somebody to be honest with. It starts with being honest with yourself, but then it can also be a loved one, a family member, a friend. Maybe you know somebody else that's in recovery or that struggled with this. The other part of it is connecting potentially with a therapist, even talking to a primary care physician. I know when I first got sober, I actually shared it initially with my OBGYN, which is kind of random, but they pointed me in the right direction. And that doesn't always happen. But hey, why not give a shot to people in the community that may be able to point us in the right direction? I also am just blown away by all of the different choices that people have to show up at a meeting in meetings that are not just local anymore. Because remember, before support groups used to have to be in your community, people would get embarrassed and scared to see people that they knew. And now they can attend self-help meetings with people from different countries, from different states. There's something for everyone because all of these different support groups have different philosophies. Some of them are religious, some are non-religious, some are, some are, divided by gender. And then within some of those, there's men's meetings, women's meetings. So I think that there's no excuse to not connect. And I do know the secret to long-term recovery is having social support.
Wow, you really have it all covered. You're reshaping the narrative that recovery is a solo journey that is not a solo journey, and really highlighting the strength that comes from surrounding yourself with positive, understanding people, and that's an empowering shift for anyone listening. It really truly is. Now, you're equipping parents with a toolkit essentially that helps them to stay grounded even when life throws them challenges. And I think that this really emphasizes recovery as a resilient, adaptable lifestyle. So now let's chat self care. Self care often feels like a luxury, especially for parents, but you argue it's a necessity. The American Psychological Association notes that self care is one of the most effective ways to combat burnout and stress. So, can you walk us through some self care practices that you believe are absolutely essential for parents in recovery?
Sure. And to be piggyback on that, there was a Surgeon General report about the stressors that parents are under that was released this past year, and it was just astounding. So if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm drowning in the parenting piece, for some of us, we got sober before we had children. So then you add that other layer on, and it feels almost impossible sometimes to quote unquote put yourself first. However, what I really emphasize again is back to this lifestyle approach where it's understood within your family system that these things are requirements. Like we sit down and eat meals, right? We exercise, we do healthy things, but we also have downtime. We take time for ourselves. Children that are growing up in a home with parents in recovery know when they say, I'm on a meeting, this is my time, they start to adapt. It becomes normal. It's not all of a sudden this shock to them if this is what they're used to. I do think parents that get sober, after their children are used to them being a different way and possibly giving everything of themselves to a point where they can't maintain it, may have a little bit of resistance to, mommy or daddy needs a little bit of space and time, and also asking for additional support from your partner, delegating more, and setting limits and boundaries within your friendships. That can be hard for people at first, but those that have been living within this lifestyle starts to get normalized over time. But it isn't optional, because the truth is that when parents who are doing too much get sober, they're unable to maintain. So alcohol and substances are a Band-Aid. They're not allowing you to really feel how actually overwhelmed you are. And so when you remove that, the truth comes out, and you start to realize that things may have been taking on too much, and it's harder to hide.
Wow. You are brilliant, my dear. So true. And you're challenging the guilt that often accompanies self-care for parents and reframing it as something vital. And this resonates with so many listeners who feel stretched thin but want to do what's best for their families. So you are doing God's work, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, more importantly, for sharing your insights and your courage with us today. Your book, Parents in Recovery, is truly groundbreaking. It's going to be a resource that I think reminds us all that while recovery may start as a personal journey, its impact is truly family wide. So, to every parent out there navigating these challenges, this book offers wisdom, practical tools, and more importantly, hope. You can find Parents in Recovery and learn more about Sarah's work at bentonbhc.com. And remember, recovery is not just about abstinence. It's about creating a future where every family member can thrive. You could head to the Instagram page at Parents in Recovery. You could head to their Facebook support group, Parents in Recovery Support Group, right on Facebook. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. That was our Millennial Mom segment. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Today, we're in for a special conversation with a remarkable mother-son duo who've made waves in their respective industries. Pilar Scratch is a celebrity stylist, media personality, and author who's made an incredible impact in the fashion industry. She's known for her transformative work with high-profile clients. Her influence stretches far beyond style. She's an innovator who continues to inspire with her unique approach, especially to fashion. Joining her is her son, River Mason Eromosele. He's a young actor recognized globally for his immense talent, including his induction into the Global Child Prodigy Association. He's been featured in major outlets like Forbes and the New York Times, proving that age is no barrier to success. Together, they've made history as the first mother-son duo to receive the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Oh my goodness, we are in the presence of some important people. We're going to discuss their journey in fashion, especially Pilar's, and entertainment, their close family bond, and the importance of mental health awareness. Let's get into the remarkable story. Welcoming now to the show is River and Mama Pilar. Welcome, superstars.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, River.
Hi.
So excited to have you on, the beautiful Pilar. Okay, so first, before we even get into anything, Pilar, your career in fashion and media is widely known, but you also hold a PhD in business administration.
Yep.
And according to Harvard Business Review, professionals who pursue advanced education while balancing successful careers often do so to deepen their specific expertise and influence in their field. So I love that you pursued this. More importantly, only about 2% of the population holds a PhD, making your achievement particularly impressive. So what inspired you to pursue this advanced degree, and how has it shaped your approach to your career and the way you influence others?
River inspired me to continue everything. I had him so young, right? So I just wanted to show him that the sky is the limit, and whatever he sets his mind to, he can accomplish. So even when it seems impossible, or you have that restriction, you're a woman, you're too young, there's no limit to success. You can do anything. If you can think it in your mind, you can achieve it. So he has been my biggest inspiration and my ride or die. It's my little buddy. So he's been my purpose for so long.
And how has the PhD influenced your professional life?
Well, so I obtained it in 2023. Then I got really sick. I was in a hospital. I almost passed away from pulmonary embolisms and pseudomonas adenomas. So I really haven't used it yet. I'm just like literally recovering. I had to relearn how to walk. Yeah. So now
you had to learn how to walk again?
Yeah, it was really bad. I had to have a womb vac. It was a big thing. So it was really public online. So that's what I kind of been battling with for the past year and a half. So I haven't really used it yet, but I do plan on it now that I feel I'm starting to get like normalcy back to my life again.
You got this, girl.
Thank you.
River, your talent has taken you far, very far at such a young age. What has been the most rewarding part of your journey as a young actor, and how do you handle the pressures that come with being in the spotlight?
The most rewarding part of like what I do, honestly, is just like seeing myself on big screens, and I could just like have all those bragging rights and like, oh my goodness, it's me on the big screen. I just like seeing myself. And like, there's really no stress because I just have the people around me that just help me, every day, like my mom, my uncle, my cats. Yeah, I love my cats. And some of my best friends at school.
What are your cats' names?
Blue and Taco.
I knew they were going to have some cool names. Now, the fashion industry has been about more than just clothing. It's always been about self-expression, at least I think so. When you look at the studies, especially one in particular, Journal of Fashion Marketing found that 85% of people feel more confident when they're happy with their personal style. Now, you've built this incredible career helping people express themselves through fashion. How do you think that fashion empowers individuals, especially in difficult times?
Like you said, I believe confidence is key. So fashion definitely inspires people by making them feel empowered. When you feel good about yourself, you're your best self, right? When you like your outfit, your makeup, your hair, you're super confident. So it's definitely empowering. Opposed to when I'm wearing athleisure wear, running to the grocery store versus when I dress up to go to a red carpet, I feel more empowered. I feel, just uniquely me, and clothes really can define you and can enhance you.
Yeah, I can relate. And River is dressed to the T's. He looks very GQ today. And young actors who have strong family support, like the two of you, are more likely to succeed in the entertainment industry. The bond between the two of you really exemplifies that. I saw it from the moment you walked in. So, River, you've been by your mom's side through all of her achievements while making strides in your own career. How has your mom influenced your journey, and what's the best advice she's given you?
Honestly, my mom is like the number one reason why I do what I do, because like as she said, she started doing it because of me, but I'm doing it because of her. The best advice that she's given me is just like, I don't remember the quote, but I remember in my head, I just don't remember the words.
Weakness is purely choice. You can never fail if you never give up. Yep. That's the quote. It's a mantra.
Mom comes in for the save.
Absolutely.
You guys are like a ping pong.
Yeah, I must say, River is the one who saved my life. If I wouldn't have, he got me to the car.
Tell me about this incident.
Well, I was having chest pains. It was really bad, and River kind of yelled at me, guys. He just said, if this was me, we would have been at the hospital. He literally carried me down the stairs, called the Uber, got me in the Uber, and the doctor said if I wouldn't have came in, the pulmonary embolisms would have went to my heart, and I wouldn't have been here.
And how long ago was this?
This was a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
so
it's important to note that River's 13 now, so he was 12, then. Boy.
He saved my life, so I'm appreciative and grateful.
Yeah, no, there's definitely an angel by both of your sides.
Absolutely.
So influencers like yourself, Pilar, you're all over social media, you're shaping trends, you're changing the industry. And when you look at the stats, the stats are the stats. Vogue Business specifically said that influencers are now driving more than 30 to 40% of online sales, whether it's in fashion or showing how powerful the reach can be. So with your significant presence in both the fashion and media industry, how do you use your platform to influence positive change? And what do you hope your legacy will be?
I want to be someone that's kind, and I feel as though I am kind and giving, and to create a platform where entrepreneurs can emerge and make their dreams come true. When I started my magazine, Fashion GXC magazine, we gave back to a lot of entrepreneurs. They would come on set and they would work with their favorite celebrities, and it would be a blog spot page, and then we have a major news outlet come and cover. So it would give them the opportunity to network without having the cost of a publicist with a monthly retainer of like $3,000 to $7,000 a month where they can't afford it. So we commenced that in 2015, and we're going to start it back up now that I'm healthy, coming up this year. So that I want to be known as someone that gives back and gives people opportunities and makes a positive change, and just isn't, this industry could be very shallow. So I want to make sure everyone feels like a safe place in the industry to come.
Well, you're definitely a bright light,
Thank
and
you.
you've been given a second lease on life.
Yes.
And River assisted in that.
My
And
baby.
yes. So River, you've always been featured in major media outlets, just like Mom, recognized as one of the top young talents, emerging, if you will.
Mhm.
New York Times specifically wrote, child actors like River are becoming the face of a new era in Hollywood. So what's next for you? Do you have any upcoming projects you're particularly excited about, and how do you see your career evolving?
I just dropped my new book named The Unstoppable River Mason Eromosele.
You're
Yeah.
big time. Oh my goodness. You dropped a book. He walks in here and he's like, I dropped a book. Like 13, author. Okay. So your book's available.
Mhm.
And what about career-wise? What's the highlight of your career so far?
Evil Lives Here. I think the John Legend music video counts.
Yep, that definitely counts.
Yeah. Um,
Have yourself a Merry Christmas video. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Now, in times of difficulty, fashion, entertainment, all of this serves as an outlet for emotional expression, right?
Right.
Studies have shown that creative industries like fashion often provide that safe space for healing and reflection, to which you alluded to earlier. So you've faced some personal challenges in the last year,
Yeah.
and you've shown extreme strength and resilience. So how do you balance your professional life with the emotional challenges of personal issues, and what advice would you give to others in similar situations?
That was such a beautiful question. I learned you have to disconnect in order to reconnect. I've learned to take personal days where I just put my phone in D&D and just force myself not to answer anything, because when you're consumed in this industry, it can literally take over your life and it gets very overwhelming. So just for your mental health, find things that make you happy. I wouldn't care if it's learning how to tie your shoe or going for a walk or, going skydiving. Whatever makes you happy, you have to live in that, because that's what, when you disconnect, you have to find you and the purpose of you. Without it, I find. And if you get too engulfed in this industry, it could literally consume you, because it can be a dark cloud. So you just kind of have to find a happy place.
That's great advice. River, how do you stay grounded and balanced with such a fast-paced career? I mean, what keeps you centered?
Honestly, the things that keep me centered is like whenever I'm feeling stressed, like whenever I'm like really like stressed out, I'll just go to like my mom, my uncle, my grandma, people like that, and they'll always help me like get through it whenever I have a problem.
Now, mental health is something that touches all of us in some way. And in the U.S., 1 in 5 adults experiences mental illness each year. That's according to the National Institute of Mental Health. Family members really often play a crucial role in offering support and guidance. River, you just mentioned that. You go to whoever you can in your support system. And communication is key in talking about your emotions. So, Pilar, you recently shared a deeply personal message about your twin sister, Madison, who's currently struggling with her mental health. How has this situation impacted you and your family, and what message do you have for others who are dealing with loved ones facing similar challenges?
The post actually went viral, and we actually got a lot of leads on where she was. I've been in and out of the hospital for a year, as I stated. So no one knew what was transpiring with my sister. She did come and see me in a hospital, and that was the last time I actually saw my sister, was June of last year.
In what city?
Newark, New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah, so they did find she's in California. They pinged her cell phone. And Detective Franco has been working on her case. It's been really, I want to say overwhelming, just because my sister is a public figure as well. So seeing the tweets and seeing the manic episodes transpire so publicly on a platform where everyone is hitting me up like, Pilar, what's going on? And, I didn't know what was going on. It's just best advice I could give on mental health is when you see the red flags, try to get them help sooner. Even if you think that's just their art, and we all have some eccentricity to us, right? So get them help sooner, and try to be an advocate. Where I went wrong is I was a hothead, and I didn't know the signs were there, and I would just assume my sister was making something up, and it kind of triggered her. So even if she is listening to this, she gets this, I really just hope and praise and knows that we love her so much. We're advocating for her, and I'm not going to give up on her no matter what. It's my twin, and it breaks my heart even to see the things play out how they've done it. But if Madison is listening, I love you. You are loved, and we are not going to stop until we get you the help that you definitely need. And yeah.
Big shout out to Madison. Maddie,
Yeah.
come home.
Yes.
I thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
Is there anything you want to share with the world?
Be kind, love when you can, love hard, and give your mom morning hugs every morning.
There you go.
You don't have to, but
So, Pilar, one last question.
Okay.
Under 30 seconds. If you could
Okay.
give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Don't stop. You're going to make it through this.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To all our listeners, remember that while success can be glamorous, it's the personal stories and connections behind the scenes that make the journey worthwhile. Now, right next to you, you're going to find a Once Upon a Coconut can. I want you guys to shake that up and try it for me and tell me if you like the coconut watermelon flavor. All right,
Okay.
I'm gonna trust River on this one because this is probably my favorite
it? Is it
hydration.
gonna, like,
No, it's not gonna.
Okay.
Just shake it up.
Okay, here we go. I was looking at this like it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you guys hydrated.
Oh, this is good.
Straight up coconut water,
is
no sugar
good.
added. That's the watermelon flavor.
No sugar?
No sugar.
I like this.
Yeah.
Guys,
Once Upon a
tastes like-
Coconut.
it tastes like so much sugar, but there's
there's
sugar.
none. Yeah,
no.
I'm surprised. This is really good.
It's
and
really good.
90 calories, guys.
Yeah, and it's 100% electrolyte replacement. It's nature's Gatorade. More importantly, you should try the chocolate one. The chocolate one has just a tad of sugar added, but it's all natural, and it tastes like chocolate milk. It's completely vegan. Big shout out to Once Upon a Coconut. Thank you both so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you in studio.
Thank you for having us, guys.
Stay hydrated, stay inspired, and stay tuned for more from Hydration with Heart, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. You can definitely follow Pilar on the gram at Pilar Scratch, and definitely check out the amazing River Mason at River Mason _. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2Lift. CO2Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to CO2Lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up in just a few minutes in the Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2Lift in our Expert on the Microphone series. Today, we're joined by the founder and CEO herself, Lana Kerr, and she is featuring Reggie Gatewood, former pharma executive and co-founder of Corganics, which is a company with the mission to become the most trusted and recommended cannabinoid company by healthcare professionals. Prior to Corganics, Reggie was responsible for the launch of several well-known products into the U.S., including the cardiovascular blockbuster Plavix and the very well-known aesthetic biostimulator Sculptra. With the CBD and skincare and cosmetic market experiencing exponential growth in recent years with no sign of slowing down, they're going to join me today to break down how both CO2Lift and Corganics are easing patient comfort and well-being, and more importantly, changing the post-procedure healing routine. Welcoming now to the show is Reggie Gatewood and Lana Kerr. Welcome, superstars.
Good to be here. Hi there, Zen.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So excited to dive into one of my most passionate topics, cannabis and carbon dioxide therapy. So Reggie, I'll start with you.
Sure.
As the co-founder of a widely trusted cannabinoid company, you found yourself in the perfect position for success with CBD product sales rising from $108 million 10 years ago in 2014 to close to $2 billion in 2022. However, with this clear rise in interest, still according to a Forbes Health survey, 1/3 of US adults just don't feel confident in their understanding of CBD, such as the differences between full spectrum, broad spectrum, and CBD isolate. So clearly, education is still vital in this department. So for our audience who may be less familiar with cannabinoid therapy, can you first explain in simple terms how it works and interacts with the endocannabinoid system?
We all have an endocannabinoid system. Think of the word itself. Endo means inside. Okay. Cannabinoids are naturally occurring chemicals that we already produce very naturally. So if you think about endocannabinoid, that system is in place to help us maintain homeostasis. Our bodies are constantly trying to get back to a state of natural balance. However, it's not easy, especially environments that we put ourselves in, and the, including food or just the environment itself. And so for cannabinoids, or we'll use CBD as an example because you're familiar with Zen. And so cannabinoids interact naturally with this system. And so if you can help this system maintain functionality or even enhance its functionality, that might show up in ways of how we experience pain, or how we sleep, or how we experience anxiety, or overall just the inflammatory response. And so really, in short, that's kind of what the system's meant for us to do, and how products like Corganics clinical CBD can interact to help that system perform optimally.
Fascinating. The answer has been under our nose the entire time. Plant-based, a 100-year-old plant. Now, at Corganics, I know you offer several clinical CBD products, and after launching your first product back in 2022, you quickly became the most trusted cannabinoid therapy by healthcare professionals across multiple specialties in the US. So let's talk about just this. How is Corganics working to reintegrate healthcare professionals who were previously per se excluded from the conversation regarding CBD therapy to become a trusted source on the potential benefits to support the well-being of their patients?
So our products are only available through healthcare professionals, and this is exactly why. We want to bridge that gap between the healthcare professional who may have heard of CBD, probably get asked about it frequently by patients, but aren't just real confident yet on how to respond or even approach it. However, we know their patients are out there treating, like you said earlier, millions are spending billions of dollars. And so our goal is to bridge that disconnect between the patient and the healthcare provider. Well, in order to do that, you're going to have to earn the trust of both the healthcare professional and the patient, and that's going to be through education. So healthcare professionals are responding very positively, by the way, to education around the market. Hey, look around you. It's right under your nose. 1 in 4 Americans, according to Gallup, are utilizing some sort of cannabinoid therapy. Many of them are self-treating, but they're going to a retail market that may not be safe, and the products aren't third-party tested. And so you need to be involved in this conversation as a healthcare professional. So it's education around the market, education around the science. So the ACS itself, what do they know about it? Well, it's not really taught a lot in med school, right, or in medical schools, or in pharmacy school. So our goal is to help bridge that gap around the science. And then, of course, you've got to bridge the gap with their staff and their office, but also their patients. And so at Corganics, because we're former pharma executives, Chad Collins and myself, the co-founders, we provide a bevy of resources, whether it's healthcare professional education from Corganics U, or down to the staff, or down to the patient themselves, with education that looks similar to this. But we want them to make sure that they know it's a surround sound of education, and also resources to help them have that conversation confidently.
I love the 360 approach. It's truly what's needed. Now, Lana, I'm going to switch to you because this is such an important conversation that we're having right now. And your company is really revolutionizing a lot of pre and post procedure care. So CO2Lift, specifically CO2Lift Pro, shares this mission with Corganics to ease the comfort levels of patients. It's always been at the heart of everything that you're doing. And I know that the CO2Lift Carboxy Gel is the only proven medical grade topical carboxytherapy treatment that doctors recommend. And CO2Lift Pro is also the strongest version, which can only be provided to patients by medical professionals. So this aligns perfectly with what Reggie is doing. So aside from its monotherapy benefits, I'm letting the audience know this, that it lifts, it hydrates, it tightens. It's often used in conjunction with other cosmetic procedures. We've been talking about this for over a year now on the show. So Lana, in your opinion, why is it so important these days to minimize a patient's downtime post-procedure? And how does CO2Lift play into this specifically with Corganics?
Yeah, I think it's important because more and more patients, consumers are just informed as to what's available to help speed up healing. People today want something quick, and what we're seeing is that not the surgery is important, But just as important is the post care, because it's not only going to prevent complications, it's going to speed healing, but it's going to enhance the results. And like, Reggie's product, I mean, CO2Lift has been around for a very long time. Carbon dioxide therapy has been around. It's just now people are being, especially here in the United States, are being educated as to what it is and their benefits. So because of the rush of oxygen, it's going to rapidly heal. We're talking about minimizing the downtime by as much as half the time. Also the swelling. I think when I think of surgeries, one of the enemies to surgery is inflammation and swelling. And the CO2Lift is very effective at preventing the swelling and the inflammation and reducing the bruising time.
Now, staying with this theme, Reggie, as someone who was responsible for the launch of a well-known cosmetic product like Sculptra, you're familiar with the challenges a patient may face post-procedure. So coupling this with your knowledge of CBD therapy, what are the primary benefits of using Corganics products, and how can they help aid in the patient's recovery process?
That's a great question. It goes back to I'm going to go back to simply the role of the endocannabinoid system. And so, once a body has been had a procedure and gone through whatever that procedure is, it immediately starts the journey back toward a more balanced, healed state, right? And so, like Lana's products help certainly with that's the tip of the spear relative to the swelling and the inflammatory response, but also your endocannabinoid system is also helping to lead that charge back toward, or that journey back toward, recovery and balance. And so for Corganics, look, we play a critical role helping, whether it's post-recovery, maximizing sleep, or in easing the anxiety that was associated with the procedure itself. But also with the endocannabinoid system, you know that there's much data around reducing the inflammatory response. And so as Lana so eloquently spoke to, her product definitely helps that, as well as systemically, you've got a system that's helping it sort of from the inside out. And look, if we're going to create an exquisite experience from the beginning, during the procedure, and then after the procedure, then let's bring products in that help us speak to that more naturally, and also probably meeting a lot of patients where they're already at with that process to help them in that journey.
Now, I know verification and evidence-based backing is extremely important to both of you. So, Lana, can you touch on why clinical trials and testing are so crucial in advancing therapies, and and mainly how they help ensure both safety and effectiveness for patients?
Today, I feel like trust in companies, trust in products is at an all-time low, for the reason that there's so much misinformation out there. I mean, you hear the stories of even people using pictures from other companies and using it and saying it's their own. Those things create a lot of distrust. And then there's a sea of products that are available to help sell the so-called issues, or the issues that we're facing, where we're discussing right now. So I think it's so important for a company to invest in studies to prove the efficacy of the product and the safety of that product. And that's one of the things that I like about what Reggie's company does, and what we did from the very beginning. Before we even launched the product, we used the gel, we compared it with the injectable version to compare and to see how effective is it. Is it the same thing? And the data shows it. We see it anecdotally, but we see it clinically.
Now, Reggie, I know Corganics products are all rigorously tested with extensive third-party testing and IRB-approved data separating you from retail versions of cannabinoid therapy. So I'd love to hear your opinion on the importance of testing as well.
Well, for us, it's paramount. And so, as I mentioned earlier, let's go back to what's happening in the retail setting. Almost regardless of whether it's oral, topical, whatever it is, you're talking about upwards of 88% of what's out there is mislabeled. And the majority of them do not test for heavy metals, molds, microbes, pesticides. Yeah, exactly. And so most patients don't know that. They assume if I can find it on a store shelf, it's probably going to be okay. And the reality is it's unregulated. It's the Wild West. And so at Corganics, if we're going to bridge that gap, trust is the first step, as well as education. And so for us, it's just a no-brainer. We have to third-party test. And then we make those results of the third-party tests transparent. On every one of our bottles, you can look up by batch what the COA says, the certificate of analysis, just to show that's step one. Step two, we invest in IRB approved data. We have an IRB approved studies. We invest in patient studies too. And so most recently we have one that looked at overall well-being. And so without going into the details, it's critical if that journey toward well-being, you think about what you're talking about relative to the post procedures and even prior to procedures, what's going on in the mind around the anxiousness around certain things. And so for us, that was critical to say, well, let's start with why most people would take CBD or self-report. And they self-report around pain, sleep, and anxiety for the sake of overall well-being. That's a well-known survey of over 2,000 people, why they self-treat. And so those were the primary endpoints for that first big study of ours with over 500 patients. Long story short, those two things alone speak to the critical importance and how paramount it is for us to third-party test and invest in patient data as well.
Well, you clearly both are leaders in your fields, and I love how both your products are so different, but both effective in achieving the same goal, and that's to make patients feel better. Now, one last question for both of you before we wrap up here. So from your own perspectives, how do you think offering these products revolutionizes post-procedure routines and ultimately changes the industry standard for care? Lana, you go first.
Well, first of all, I want to say, just as a testimonial to Corganics, we talked about a few weeks ago, my procedure that I did, the vaginoplasty. Well, I used their product, the oil, the gel caps, and I used it throughout the process. And no doubt it contributed to my overall feeling of well-being, the fact that I had no swelling, all of that. So I really love his products and what they can do for patients. The CO2Lift carboxygel is revolutionizing post-care. We're looking at some plastic surgeons, for instance, are calling it the new gold standard of post-care because, again, it's not just the surgery. They can only accomplish part of it. Then the body has to kick in and start healing. And like what Corganics is doing, it's really just putting your body in a position to be able to heal itself. And that's what I love about the CO2Lift. And then its versatility, in terms of it can do so many different things. But as we're talking about patient comfort, patient effective, the immediacy of it, the versatility of it, that's what CO2Lift is doing. And we're really, and it's, as Reggie said, education is so important now to just help people to understand. It's a new category altogether in skincare, in post-care, in pre-care. It's something that we think of as, as the Windex of skin regeneration.
Now, Reggie, I'd love to hear your perspective on how you think offering these products revolutionizes post-procedure routines.
So Lana said it. I think a new category versus just a new product or a different product, it doesn't do this justice for either one of us. And so if you're introducing a new category, then you will almost by default say, we're investing in something that will become what's next. And that's what Lana and I have done pretty much our whole career. And so when you see the light bulb go off with healthcare professionals who have not been have not felt connected in a meaningful way with a large segment of their own patients who are self-treating and not getting answers from healthcare professionals, yet this is a safer, more alternative, natural solution, which, by the way, as Lana said earlier, for a lot of reasons, that is just in the zeitgeist in general. People are seeking those out. And so if we can help them do that with their patients and enhance those experiences, then, I would be more likely to refer a practice that did that for me. And that is the lifeblood of all practitioners, especially today. So if we could play a critical role in that process, then, mission accomplished.
Well, we are officially out of time. I thank you both for joining us today. It was such a enlightening conversation filled with knowledge and transparency. Lana, thank you so much for coming on again.
Of course. And Reggie, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I truly enjoyed it.
That was CO2Lift's Going Deep segment, and that was founder of CO2Lift and Lumisk Skincare, the amazing Lana Kerr. Definitely check them out online at co2lift.com and on the gram at CO2Lift and at the Lana Kerr, 2 R's in her last name. And of course, head to Corganics.com to learn more about what co-founder Reggie Gatewood is doing to bridge the gap between healthcare professionals and their patients when it comes to CBD therapy. And do check them out on the gram at Live Corganics. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2Lift. CO2Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Do you have the dream of starting and owning your own business or know of someone who does? If so, check out Your Home Business program, where they inspire, equip, and encourage those who dream of owning and operating their own business. Check out Your Home Business on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back to this week's Express segment of Phoenix Rising, brought to you by Gigi and Pop Institute on A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm Anna DeVere, and today we're talking about art in the heart of East Harlem, New York. Gigi and Pop Institute is a beautiful oasis, a friendly artist-run space dedicated to fostering intergenerational creativity, sustainability, and wellness. But I know it is the backdrop to a kismet story that happened on my way to meet artist Guy Stanley Filoche. On a picture-perfect day in fall, I met Guy at his studio on 104th Street in East Harlem and was treated to a bright visual feast. Guy is a celebrated painter with celebrity clientele. On this day, he was getting ready for Art Basel, the prestigious international festival that takes place stateside in Miami in December. We were discussing his upcoming documentary and other hallmarks of a successful creative life when Guy felt inspired to introduce me to his friend and fellow artist, Jessica Ann Peavy. Her gallery and nonprofit hub, Gigi and Pop Institute, just happened to be downstairs, and she just happened to be available. To say that the next 5 hours were transformational is an understatement. Jessica will tell you that hands down, chatting about art and showing folks around the gallery is the best part of her day. And she means it. I was the lucky beneficiary of a full tour, complete with backstage stories and a peek at the classes they host with young people and local artists in residence like Kevin Kedrow. By the time the sun was setting, my fingers had touched materials I'd never seen before, and my heart was full from taking in the measure of this extraordinary woman and the co-creators that serve their community. As we enjoyed the night air just in front of Gigi and Pop's cheerful, glowing front, a happy 2-year-old girl skipped by with her mother. The girl flitted around like a butterfly, and Jessica explained that Gigi and Pop had hosted the girl's birthday party. You could feel the happy place vibes emanating from her smile as she pressed her nose into the gallery window and claimed this oasis as her own. But don't take our word for it. A 60-year-old man who wandered into this wonderland just the way I did by chance found himself riveted by a sculpture by local artist Craig Blue. The man had a visceral reaction to the piece and stayed for over an hour, letting his tears flow. When Jessica revealed this story to Craig, the artist confirmed that he had created the sculpture in memoriam of his favorite professor. This is the alchemy of memory and the reason art as mental health can defy description. I'm still feeling the pull of The Prince by Dominique Durousseau. How does a Haitian-born artist give so much of her own identity to the photos of her semi-nude body that it evokes my own personal feelings about womanhood on the deepest level? Another gallery patron, a woman from Turkey, revealed the same emotional tie to these prints. Imagine the power this place has to young artists. Beyond a classroom, it's the center of life in a city that can identify the story of its inhabitants one block at a time. Gigi and Pop is a cultural anchor. In this season of gratitude, I thank Guy and Jessica for giving me a glimpse of what matters most to me, giving back. I invite you to visit the website gigiandpopinstitute.org for a sense of the wonder I still feel from my visit. Or better yet, drop by and stay tuned for all this place has to offer, young and old. It's truly what the world needs most, a place of unity, beauty, and inspiration. This Giving Tuesday, consider supporting Gigi and Pop Institute by visiting their website, gigiandpopinstitute.org. That's GGANDPOP Institute.org. From iHeart to Your Heart, this express segment of Phoenix Rising was brought to you by Gigi and Pop Institute. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Polished Beauty Podcast with Dr. Daisy Aim. Hey, ambitious women, ready to shine on the inside and out? Tune in to the Polished Beauty Podcast, where we talk about business, beauty, brains, and body all in one spot. Meet Dr. Daisy Aim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon, pro-aging advocate, fitness enthusiast, and your go-to for real talk on leveling up every part of your life. The Polished Beauty Podcast is your dose of ambition meets empowerment. For more information, head to polishedbeautypodcast.com. Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on your home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide streaming platform. You could head directly to our channel, mox.yourhometv.com. It's free programming for you. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks to all of our sponsors that continue to keep the show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be right back next week.